Did you know that women entrepreneurs tend to underprice themselves by as much as 28% compared to their male counterparts offering the exact same service? Clearly, that has got to change. I mean, think about it for a minute. What would an additional almost 30% in revenue mean for your business? Today, I want to talk about a mistake that I see women entrepreneurs make over and over again, and that is undervaluing and underpricing themselves. So, before we get started, I think it's really important to recognize that pricing is complex. Even the most sophisticated organizations are challenged with it. But today I'm going to try and make it as simple as possible for you to price your offer or your service to ensure that you are getting compensated for the value that you're bringing to the table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to review with you 5 lenses that I'd like you to consider when pricing any project or offer. And I'm going to go through these lenses very quickly at the beginning. And then what we're going to do is do a deep dive on each of these so that you can see how it works in both a B2B example and a B2C example. So the first lens is the base price, and that very simply is the number of hours that you expect a project or offer to take you multiplied by your hourly rate. And then, of course, you'd want to consider any additional expenses and add those in as well. Most coaches and consultants end here, and this is what gets them into trouble because that price is not representative of the value that you're bringing to the table. So this second lens is all about value, and depending on your offer, you can look at it from a couple of perspectives. One is the quantitative value, which very simply is what is the expected return on the investment that the client is making. But in addition to that, we also want to be looking at the qualitative value. And what I mean by that is it might be peace of mind or saving time or frustration. And then our third lens is what I call cost of inaction. And what I'm talking about there is what would happen if the client decided to do nothing, just kept with the status quo? What is the cost associated with that? The fourth lens asks the question, what alternatives does the client have to working with you or someone like you? And the fifth and final lens is about the competition. What is the competition likely to charge for this kind of project or offer? And most importantly, what value do you bring above and beyond what they bring? So there you have it. There are the 5 lenses. And now what we want to do is a deep dive to really see how this can play out. If you're finding this content helpful, please subscribe and also hit the bell so that you're alerted of content as we produce it. Okay, this first example is actually a real example, and it's from the institutional side of our business. About 3 or 4 years ago, we were asked by an existing client to train about 100 people on a new investment product. Now, we figured that our base cost was about $150,000 when you took into consideration the amount of time that it would take for us to design the program and actually implement it. Now, in terms of value, we believed that the value of having these 100 people sell this new investment product to their existing market would be at least $20 million. And cost of inaction was significant here because their clients were expecting this product to be available to them. So if the client did nothing, if they didn't train their people on selling this product and they did not bring it to market, it would probably be well in excess of $20 million to them because you've got the cost of potentially clients leaving them. In terms of alternatives, did they have alternatives to working with us or someone like us? Not really, because they were pretty understaffed. And yes, I suppose they could hire someone in, but that would not make sense for a short-term project. So the answer on that is probably not a lot of alternatives. And then finally, the competition. We figured that the competition would charge somewhere between 150,000 and 200,000. So I want to stop here and ask you to put on the precision hat here and think about this scenario. You've got a base price of 150,000. You have a value, quantitative value, way in excess of $20 million. You also have cost of inaction being significant because they could lose clients. They didn't really have alternatives to working with us or someone like us. And we figured the competition would come in at about 150 to 250. So let me ask you, where would you price this? So let me tell you where we landed on this. We priced the deal at 275,000. So that's 125,000 over the base price. And we were able to do that for a few reasons. One is in the sales process, we were asking questions that enabled us to understand the value, but also maybe got the client thinking a little bit differently themselves about value when they were thinking about things like, boy, we really don't have alternatives to working with someone like Precision Sales Coaching, or potentially, wow, if we did nothing, we'd really be in trouble. So they started to think a little bit differently about the value. The second thing is that we were able, when it came time to present the proposal, we were able to do it in the context of the value. So that price in the context of value didn't seem out of kilter at all for them. And then the third reason we were able to do this is because we had become an authority in this particular niche within financial services. They knew that we could hit the ground running and that we would do what it would take for them to realize the value. So that's a B2B example. Now let's do a B2C example. And here I'm going to ask you to pretend for a minute that you are a divorce coach and you specialize in helping medical professionals, mostly doctors, mostly who have children, who are on the brink of divorce to save their marriage. And you have a program where your base price is $15,000. Now, let's move to the value. What is the value of saving a marriage? Well, I can't help but think about the old MasterCard commercial. Priceless, right? I mean, really, really priceless. There is so much value in saving the marriage. We'll move on to the next one, which is the cost of inaction. If they were to do nothing, this couple that's on the brink of divorce, if they were to do nothing, chances are they'd end up in divorce. And think about the costs associated with that, right? You have legal costs. You potentially have the cost of two homes. You may have therapy. You might have childcare. The list could go on and on. Very, very costly. What about alternatives to working with you or someone like you? Well, they could probably talk to a clergy member or maybe even a family member, although probably not a good idea, right? But there's not a lot of alternatives out there for them. And then finally, the competition. You would have a leg up on the competition if you were niche to medical professionals because you would understand the unique challenges. And therefore, you could charge a premium for that above and beyond your competition. So hopefully, these examples have inspired you to take a look at your pricing and to run them, your offers, your programs through a series of lenses like this. So if this has inspired you to take a look at your pricing, please let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.